good evening, or perhaps good night. You are listening to the journey gently into the past, unhurried and unfeathered, through stories worn soft by the centuries. Tonight, we travel back to the long, uneven centuries of the Middle Ages, a time of flickering candlelight, slow prayer, and ceaseless toil. A time when dirt was not a sign of disorder, but simply life. Our story tonight is one of contrast, between the field and the feast, between those who labored and those who listened to lutes, between the quiet suffering of millions and the gleam of myth that still clings to their age. We begin in the village, among straw-roofed huts and muddy footpaths, where the heartbeat of medieval life thudded slow and heavy. Then we follow a single voice, clear, devout, and defiant through fire and betrayal. We pause inside a painted prayer book, delicate as a whisper, where devotion took the form of ink and gold. And finally, we peer inside a Lord's hall, where nothing is ever quiet and nothing ever simple. As you settle into this soft descent into history, allow the rhythm of medieval life, its chores, its prayers, its silences to draw you in. Let your thoughts loosen like the ties of a well-worn tunic. There is nothing to do. No hay to scythe, no tax to pay. Just the long night ahead and the slow unfolding of stories long since past. So now, imagine yourself waking in the dark before the cock crows. The first light has not yet touched the low horizon. Your home is a single room, its walls daubed with wattle and mud, patched and repatched over the seasons. You lie on a bed of straw, shared with your family, your children curled beside you, your wife already stirring. The warmth is from bodies, not blankets. It is cold and damp. A pig snores softly in the corner, tied to a post to keep it from wandering. The smell is strong, but familiar. You do not recoil from it. You are used to animals being part of the household. They are wealth, meat, and manure. The rhythm of your life moves to their needs. There is no soap. You wash your face with cold water from a wooden bucket. If there is any leftover barley gruel from the night before, you eat it. If not, you wait. Hunger is a rhythm too. One you've grown to accept. You stretch your back and step outside. Mud everywhere. The footpaths between huts are little more than trampled soil. You can see your neighbors, already busy. One is chasing a goose, another is patching a leak in the thatch. You nod to each other briefly. There's no time to talk. You are a villain, a peasant bound to the land, not a slave, but not quite free. The Lord owns your land. You must work his fields before you work your own. He might take a portion of your grain, a chicken at Christmas, or demand unpaid labor, what's called corvée, to repair his fences or dig ditches. You plow the fields with a heavy wooden plow dragged by oxen. The earth is stubborn, full of stones and tangled roots. Your boots, if you have them, are worn leather. Most go barefoot. You lean into the yoke, call to the oxen, and hope for a steady furrow. In spring there is sowing, in summer weeding. In autumn, harvest. In winter, you mend tools and pray. But prayer is constant like breath. You cross yourself before every meal, before sleep when thunder rolls in. The church is small, made of timber, but it is the center of the village. Even if the priest cannot read Latin, his words carry the weight of heaven. Disease, when it comes, spreads quickly. There is little to stop it. A cough becomes a fever becomes death. You bury your child beside the others. You do not speak of it much. Grief is folded into the rhythm too. And yet there is community. After the harvest, you might share cider. On feast days, the church bells ring long and joyful, and you may eat real meat, not salted scraps. You dance, you laugh. You rest your aching legs and look up at stars that shine just as they did over kings and knights. But mostly, you work. You rise before dawn. You sleep beside straw and animals. You hope faintly that the bailiff does not come knocking, that your ox does not fall lame, that your Lord forgets your name. And if you are lucky, the seasons roll on and you do not die young. The medieval peasant's life was neither heroic nor romantic. It was muddy, repetitive, worn smooth by habit. A constant struggle, not against enemies, but against time, toil, and the turning wheel of nature. And yet, within that rhythm, there was order. There was faith. There were moments of stillness beside the hearth, with the fire crackling and the wind whispering through chinks in the wall. And in that stillness, perhaps you could hear something close to peace. Now we drift forward, away from the thatched huts and silent oxen, and toward a figure who would rise from among the poor, but speak in a voice that shook kings. Imagine yourself in the damp fields of eastern France. In the year 1425, the land is tired. The 100 Years' War has dragged on like a storm that will not pass. England controls vast stretches of French soil. The French court is divided. Hope is thin like soup stretched too far. And in the small village of Domremy, there lives a girl named Jean. She is a peasant's daughter. She does not read. She does not ride. She spends her days spinning wool, helping with the animals, walking to church. Her village is not untouched by war. Armies have passed nearby. Families have fled. But Jean's life remains small until the voices begin. She is 13. The first voice comes in the garden at midday, a soft voice as if carried on light. She says it is Saint Michael. Later, Saint Catherine and Saint Margaret. They tell her to be good, to go to church, and then slowly they begin to say more. They say she has a mission. France is bleeding. The Dauphin, the uncrowned prince, needs her help. She, a girl who has never wielded a blade, must go to him. She must help him become king. At first she resists, but the voices are persistent, calm, clear, gentle, but unyielding. She begins to believe, not with pride, but with purpose. She cuts her hair short. She dresses as a man. She sets off to find a commander who will listen. At first they laugh. Then they hesitate. Then somehow they believe too. By 1429, Joan, still a teenager, is leading armies. Not in the tactical sense. She does not draw up battle plans, but she carries a banner. She rides in armor, and her presence, her calm certainty, changes the hearts of men. At Orleans, she helps lift the siege. The English are shaken not just by her tactics, but by the aura that surrounds her. Her faith is unshakable. She does not swear. She does not drink. She prays constantly. She speaks of visions of God's will, of France reborn. And slowly it seems to work. The Dauphin is crowned Chores VII in Reims. Joan stands beside him. She has fulfilled her mission, but peace does not follow. War lingers. The court grows uneasy. A peasant girl with power is a dangerous thing. She is no longer useful. She becomes inconvenient. In 1430, she is captured, betrayed, sold to the English. They do not execute her as an enemy soldier. No such deaths are clean, if brutal. Instead, they try her for heresy, for wearing men's clothes, for claiming divine guidance, for being unnatural. She is kept in a cold cell, interrogated by theologians, pressed and questioned again and again. Her responses are calm, thoughtful, unshaken. She asks for a church trial, but receives only a political one. Eventually, exhausted, she signs a confession. But when she is found again in male clothing, a symbol of her defiance, they use it as an excuse. In May of 1431, she is taken to the square in Rome. The pyre is built. The crowd gathers. She is 19. They tie her to the stake. They place the firewood. The executioner lights the flame. She does not scream. Her ashes are thrown into the Seine, so no relics remain. No pilgrimage, no shrine, and yet her voice never vanished. Decades later, the trial is revisited. She is declared innocent. Much later, she is canonized a saint, a virgin warrior, a symbol of French unity and faith. But beneath the layers of symbolism was still a girl who heard voices, a girl who believed, a girl who obeyed not kings, but something quiet, constant, and divine. In a world where peasants were born, lived, and died unseen, she stepped forward. She was seen, and then burned, and still her story endures. Now, let us leave the battlefield, the flickering flame, and enter a quieter world. A world of ink and parchment, of devotion made visible, of beauty pressed between pages. Let us turn now to the mystery of a prayer book. The fire fades now. The battle is behind us. We turn the page gently and step into a different kind of world. Not one of armies or taxes, but of quiet contemplation. Imagine a book not large, but thick and weighty in the hand. Its cover is leather, worn soft. Its pages are vellum smooth, pale, the stretched skin of calves carefully prepared. Inside, there is no printed type. Each letter has been painted by hand in careful strokes of dark ink. Each border is adorned with delicate flourishes tendrils of vines, tiny creatures, gold-leaf stars that still shimmer after centuries. This is a book of hours, a devotional text meant not for the masses, but for the wealthy. It is not scripture exactly, but a calendar of prayer. A structure for the day, a rhythm for the soul. And like the rhythm of a peasant's labor, it marks the passage of time now in far more refined surroundings. The hours it refers to are the canonical hours: matins, lauds, prime, terce, sex, none, vespers, and compline, each a time of day, each a moment to pause, to read, to pray. Most often, such books belong to noble women, ladies of the court. Their days were shaped by needlework, by correspondence, by the slow movement of seasons behind stained glass. The Book of Hours was both tool and treasure. It guided their piety, yes, but it was also an object of beauty, a quiet possession, a companion. Imagine now one such book, lost. Perhaps it was dropped in haste, or hidden during war, or buried with its owner, its gilt edges dulled, its clasp rusted. But within untouched are the hours of a life once lived. We open it, the calendar comes first, days marked for saints, for holy feasts, margins filled with tiny images, flowers in bloom, birds mid-flight, rabbits sleeping beside the names of martyrs. The seasons illustrated in the corners: spring planting, summer harvest, autumn gathering, winter stillness. Turn the page. Here's the Annunciation painted in soft blues and gold. The Virgin Mary, serene, her eyes lowered. The angel bowing. A ray of light stretches down from the top of the frame connecting heaven to earth. Turn again. A passage from the Hours of the Virgin. The Latin flows like music, though the lady who owned this book may not have read every word. It was the act of reading, the habit of prayer, that mattered, the ritual. Each day, at each hour, she would sit, perhaps near a window, the light filtered through glass colored like jewels. Perhaps by a fire, the crackle soft beneath whispered Latin. She would open the book, touch the edge of the page, begin again. She prayed for her family, for her husband who rode with the king, for her children, for her own soul. Her fingers lingered on the face of a saint, painted centuries ago by a monk in a quiet scriptorium. She traced the lines of gold, the curls of ink, and then she closed the book. Over time, her hands grew old. The book's spine softened. Its corners frayed, but still, it held the rhythm of her days, a rhythm of silence and sanctity. Books of Hours were deeply personal. Some included portraits of their owners, kneeling beside saints. Others hid initials in the scrollwork. Some even contained marginalia, odd little doodles in the edges. A monkey with a crown, a knight jousting a snail. Strange, playful echoes of humor and humanity. And then the book vanished. Perhaps it was passed to a daughter, then another. Perhaps it was taken during a siege, its value known even to the looters. Or maybe it was left behind in a chest, buried in dust and dark. Centuries passed. And now someone finds it again. They brush away the cobwebs. They open the clasp. They breathe in the faint scent of age vellum, ink, forgotten time. The prayers are still there. The saints, the stars, the flowers. The tiny birds with halos. The rhythm waits, unchanged. In the humblest villages, peasants murmured prayers by rote. In the grandest manors, noble women turned these pages by candlelight, all bound by the same hours, the same longing, the same hope for grace. We close the book now. Let the golden light fade. Let the whisper of Latin fall silent. We rise from the cushion, step out of the chapel, and turn toward another hall. A place of clinking goblets, of firelight on silk, of secrets traded over roasted boar and slow-moving feasts. We move now to the noble's table. Now we step through tall doors, thick with iron, past banners hanging still in the stale air, into the hall where the highborn dined. Imagine yourself in a stone manor, or perhaps a castle perched above a wooded valley. The walls are heavy, cold in winter, cool in summer. A fire smolders in the hearth. Smoke curls upward and drifts along the high beams. The scent is of wood, spiced wine, wax, and meat long since roasted. This is not a place of silence. It is not a chapel. It is not a field. It is a hall of performance. The Lord sits at the high table, raised slightly above the rest. A cloth, often white, often linen, covers the table before him. This alone marks his status. Others, even his guests, may eat from bare wood. There is a steward, a cupbearer, a carver who slices the meat with ritual precision. Each role is practiced, observed, understood. You might think perhaps that this is a life of ease. But even here, the rhythm is unrelenting, just different. The day begins not with the plow, but with obligation. Petitions, letters, hunting, which is both leisure and labor, the management of estates, the settling of disputes. Even dining is structured rich with etiquette and expectation. Food arrives in courses, often too many to count. There are trenchers' stale bread used as plates, stews of boar and rabbit, dishes spiced with pepper and saffron, not for heat, but for display. Bright oranges and deep reds signal wealth more than taste. Wine is ever present, though often sour, mixed with spices. Sometimes sweetened with honey, ale too flows freely. Water is mistrusted, especially in towns, but meat is king. Swans dressed and redressed. Roasted peacocks refeathered and posed for display. Fish molded into strange shapes on days of fasting. A display of control over nature and over the people who prepare it. And there are sounds, the clink of cups, the quiet scrape of knives, the hum of conversation, layered like the courses themselves. Entertainment follows. A minstrel sings of Arthurian knights, of saints and monsters. A fool dances in bells. Perhaps a bear is led in on a chain. Laughter rises, forced and polite. Yet even among all this, nothing is ever truly private. The walls have ears, servants are everywhere. Gossip drips like wax from the candles. A misstep, a comment, a glance might echo in another manner by week's end. The noble lady, too, plays her part. She is dressed in layers. Linen, wool, perhaps silk, if her family is rich enough, a belt studded with small jewels. Her sleeves trail long and impractical. Her hair may be braided and coiled beneath a veil or crisp headdress. She is expected to be graceful, pious, silent, but never absent. She tends to the household, keeps the accounts, organizes the feast days. But she also listens, watches, writes letters with careful hands. Her words, though private, can shape marriages and alliances. In the cold months, the manor grows darker, the fire dims early. The shadows pool in corners. Life turns inward. Games pass the time. Chess, often. Sometimes backgammon. Quiet contests of strategy and wit. Each piece, each move, mirroring the real games of politics beyond the gates. And as night falls, the nobleman retires not to a private bedroom, but to a chamber with attendants close by. Privacy, as we understand it today, is rare. A servant might sleep at the foot of the bed. The shutters creak. The wind moans through arrow slits. This is comfort, but not peace. This is privilege, but not rest. The noble's life is dictated by expectations. To host, to fight, to marry well, to die remembered. And beyond these stone walls, the world presses in. There are debts. Famines, wars that pull sons away. Plagues that enter with travelers. There is always the memory of the peasant's field. Somewhere beyond the trees. The knowledge that one's comforts depend upon others' toil. Still the feast continues. Bread is broken, bells ring. The rhythm beats on, and in this rhythm is a kind of lullaby. One of protocol, of place, of knowing what to say and when to rise, and how to hold a goblet without spilling. It is not freedom, but it is structure. And for many nobles, that was enough. And so the candle burns low, the hall quiets. The fields lie still beneath the stars. The voices have faded and the book has closed, from the clinging mud of the peasant's mourning to the fire-lit visions of a warrior saint, from painted prayers bound in soft leather to the distant echo of feasts in stone-walled halls. We have wandered slowly through the medieval world. It was a time of burdens and beliefs, of rigid rhythms, of survival wrapped in ritual. And as you lie now, still and warm, consider how far away those lives were, and yet how near. The same hopes, the same fears, the same longings for peace, for meaning, for rest. Here, in the quiet of the present, let the weight of the past slip gently from your mind. The chores are not yours, the cold is not yours. The war, the feast, the fire are only echoes. Sleep, if you haven't already, may now come easily. The past is at peace, and so are you. And if someday your mind wanders again, curious, slow, and seeking, you are welcome back. If there is a time, a place, or a forgotten corner of history you'd like us to visit in a future video, you are warmly invited to share it in the comments. We read each one slowly and carefully, like the turning of a worn old page. Good night, and thank you for listening.